Yo, welcome back to Groovy Selective. If you're looking for that minimal house sound, no worries, I got you. Today we're going to be remaking All Night Long by Chris Stussy.
The aim of Groovy Selective is to teach you how to produce all types of dance music. However, if you'd like to support me or you want to level up your production game, you can find all of my sample and Serum 2 packs, VIP coaching, mixing and mastering services in the link below.
So jumping into this project, I've already worked out the bass line and I've worked out the lead line, and the only thing that I have from the original track is the vocal. So let's look at the main part of the drop. For the bass, I've layered up 3 layers from my pack, which you can find in the link below. I'm using the Stussy preset and the Stussy inspired preset, and I'm using the Tech House grip bass, and altogether they sound a little bit like this. Now, if you want to remake that signature Chris Stussy bass sound, I'm going to show you and walk you through the Serum preset. So load up Serum 2, and you're going to change your first wavetable just to a saw wave, and then you're going to bring the semitones down to -5, and again for oscillator B, but we're moving it down an octave. Moving on to envelope 1, I've got the attack set to 2.7 milliseconds, the decay time set to 882 milliseconds, and the release time set to 77 milliseconds. Make sure you turn your sustain all the way down so it's plucky. And then envelope 1 is routed to my cutoff filter, and I've set this to MG low 12, and the cutoff is maxed out. Next, moving on to the effects, I'm using hyper dimension. The mix turned up to 50% on hyper, and on dimension, the mix is turned up to 16%, and then the overall mix of the module is at 28%. Using a multi-band compressor, I'm just bringing out some of the lows and some of the mid-range. So I'm using a delay, and that's being controlled by my macro here, and I've turned it up to +18, and then my reverb is turned up to +10. It's a fairly simple sound, however, it's really effective, and with it you can create that iconic bass line in All Night Long. Now the second layer is fairly similar, except I'm not actually detuning the bass at all. So instead of creating like a power chord, both oscillators are going to be playing the same note. And the point of this layer is just to give the bass a little bit more weight. And the final preset, the Tech House grip preset, you can find in the link below, is just adding that bottom end and that sub. The main lead I'm using in this remake is the Techie lead, which you can find in the Groovy Selective pack. It's a fairly simple sound, however, it's really effective creating these types of tracks. And the last layer I'm going to show you in this drop is the mallets, and I'm using the mallets that are just default in Logic Pro X, which is the ethereal mallets, realistic marimba, moving vibes, and island mallets. And in context of the mix, it should sound a little bit like this. Now, something I really like about Chris Stussy's music is how much he uses variation to keep the listener interested. So we'll see, like just in this bass line, this lead line alone, he's created a lot of different small variations to keep you engaged with what's going on in the mix. So let's move on to the drums. And I'm going to start off by finding my kick. I'm going to use kick 3 from the Groovy Selective pack. I'm going to pull this into Drum Machine Designer, and I'm going to create my pattern region, and this is going to be playing on beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now for the clap. I'm going to use clap 6 from the pack, and then I'm going to drag this into my Drum Machine Designer. And this needs to be playing on beats 2 and 4. And now for the hi-hats, I'm going to select an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat. I'm going to use closed hat 3. And then I'm going to use open hat 3 and open hat 5. Again, drag these into my drum machine designer. And our open hi-hat is going to be playing on the offbeat, whilst our closed hi-hat is going to be playing on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's start with the open hat. Now remember, the offbeat is in between the kick and the clap. Let's add in that second layer. And this layer is just to add a little bit of variation and also make that hi-hat sound a little bit bigger. And for the closed hat, we're playing on the beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn it down in the mix. Duplicate the sequences. And your drop should sound a little bit like this. And next I'm just going to add a crash for the start of the drop. I'm going to use crash 3 from the pack. But if we listen to the original track, I'm pretty sure the crash doesn't have a long decay, so I'm going to shorten the crash and then just add a fade out. Okay, now for the build up. So the clap is going to be playing on the 2 and the 4 for the second half, but for the first half, it's actually just going to be playing on the 2 in a 16-step sequence. And then we can copy over our hi-hats. And we need to drop everything out a bar before the drop. So I'm going to duplicate my crash. This is going to sound really robotic, so I'm going to turn these down in the mix and also mess around with the panning. And make the crashes shorter. And now I'm just going to put my crashes in a subgroup, just because it's easier for me to look at. And next I'm going to add 16ths on the closed hat for part of the build-up. We're going to change the velocity so it doesn't sound super robotic. And then I'm going to show the inspector and add a little bit more swing. 53% in this case should be more than enough. And then I'm going to add a phaser. So I'm going to go to Logic, I'm going to go to Modulation, and then Phaser. I'm going to keep this on the default settings. However, I need to use my automation here to have it drop out when the drop kicks in. So if we go to Phaser, and then Output Mix, and we're going to take it from plus 50% down to 0% at the start of the drop. And the last thing we need to do is the build-up kick. And this will just be playing on the beat and the offbeat, so 8th notes. And now I'm going to add a filter. So use my EQ, use the low cut or the high pass. I'm going to cut some of the lows immediately, and then we're going to raise the filter . And everything together should sound a little bit like this. Thank you for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like the sounds in this video, visit the link down below, and I'll see you next time.